Hello, thank you for checking out another video here on Bishop H Automate's YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be going over an invoice automation bot that I built. So with that being said, my goal is to go over the code, the goal of this bot, and then do a run of it on the back end and show you how it operates. So ultimately, the automation right here, this automation takes customer order information from an Excel spreadsheet, then inputs the invoice amount information into a downloaded invoice. So the goal of this automation is to take customer information that was on an Excel spreadsheet and then generate some PDF invoices to make the process of potentially billing a lot easier. So here we have the Excel spreadsheet that we're going to be using. Let me get it pulled up really quick. Thought I already did. So here we have some mock, let's say invoice information for some customers. We have things like invoice number, invoice date, all the way down to product description and product price. Correct. So this is the invoice information from an Excel spreadsheet we're going to pull from that we're going to use to generate some invoices. So let's get to some of the code. We have two main activities for the most part. We have an Excel application scope, which is going to capture most of the information I just showed you on that Excel spreadsheet. And then simply a closed browser sequence, nothing too crazy, very simple activities there. But let's get into this Excel application scope we have right here. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to open this up. Let's click on this. So what we have right here, we have a read range activity. Again, our good friend read range activity. So we're going to start this process off by, we're going to be taking this information and reading it into a data table. That's what we're going to be doing. And of course, we are calling up from our Excel application scope this exact Excel spreadsheet we have right here. I have it saved under a folder under objects, invoice data.xlsx, which tells us it is an Excel spreadsheet. And within the application scope, we're going to have a read range activity for specifically invoices. So this is going to save our information from the Excel spreadsheet into a data table. So we have DT invoice is where we're going to save the read range information from that Excel spreadsheet, place it into a data table, which we will use to call up the information. So now that we have that here, we're going to move forward into open browser. So we're going to be using a browser here. It's essentially an invoice generator where we're going to be placing the information from the Excel spreadsheet, more specifically the data table, into here, which will then generate us individual PDF invoices that can be used for whatever the person billing needs them for. And again, if you can imagine trying to put in this information one by one, even simply copying and pasting, that can take a good bit of time. And, you may accidentally press the wrong number. Maybe you put May 9th when you're supposed to put May 10th or something in that regard. Typing in or copy and paste, it can be a very time consuming task, correct? So this is the website that's going to automatically use to make those invoices. And from that standpoint, we move forward into some of the code I have right here commented out. It's a simple, okay, got it. It's a click activity, because sometimes on that website, this I guess pop up will prompt and you would have to click that. But a lot of times it doesn't really pop up for the most part. So I went ahead and disabled that activity. And moving forward, we have for each row in data table. Again, one of our good friends, for each row activity. So this activity is going to consist of for each current row in that data table within DT invoice. Again, we're calling up our data table. We have particular actions we want to take place. So what we're going to be inputting is invoice from, invoice to, the invoice number. We're going to be putting in the date, entering the invoice due date, and then the item description, quantity, as well as enter item rate price. So as you see, I have some type into activities for each and every one of those rows for the specific customer. And here within a little bit of our code, we have current row, invoice from, which is the header it's going to be pulled from. Again, I have add header for that Excel spreadsheet. I believe I have it. Let's see. I think I pulled that within our Excel application scope. I'm going to backtrack slightly a little bit. Let's see. It's somewhere in here. There it is. Bingo. In our data table. So we have add header. So going back to some of our code for each and every one of those subjects, we have the code reading from invoice from, .to string, invoice to, all the way down. Now, something that can get a little more technical in some regard is the selector. The selector, I can't remember if I had to play with this a little bit. I believe I may have, but for the most part, the selector really didn't need too much toggling. But again, in the event, and it had to be maybe toggled a little bit, I could have opened up our UI Explorer, gotten a little deeper in there, and then found a selector or made it specific to where it would select it every time this website was open. But for the most part, I believe it was fairly standard. And again, I could validate that if I want to. Let's see, or highlight it. And yeah, as we see, our selectors are working adequately, so we can go ahead and cancel that out. So moving forward in the code for each one of those rows, that's exactly what it's going to place into every field inside of that website. And let's get back to some of our code. For the most part, once that takes place and all information is placed in, we're going to download the invoice. So just a few click activities here. Click download invoice, click PDF recommended, and then we're going to start the process over by clicking new invoice. And when we click new invoice, it's going to prompt another blank website to pull up. And again, we will move forward in essentially our, I guess you could call it a loop for each row activity, and it will move to the next row in that data table to input that information for that customer. So with that being said, once that takes place, and every single one of those are downloaded, I think I placed a closed browser at the end. And at that point, the website browser will close out, and the individual that is billing these customers will have multiple PDFs, saving the multiple or a good amount of time from having to do that manually. So with that said, I'm going to run the bot. Hope you enjoyed it.